Hey there everybody, my name is Tyler Valle, and you guys let me know that I spoke a little too quickly in our last review, and I want to apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused, and today I'm going to be slowing it down for you. Because this is God Eater Resurrection. Developed by Shift and published by Bandai Namco for the PlayStation 4, Vita, and soon to be PC, God Eater Resurrection is actually an HD remake of God Eater Burst, a PSP title that made its way westward back in March of 2011. And while it is noticeable that the game is just an HD re-release, the game's graphical style upscales nearly flawlessly, with only backgrounds and the occasional low polygon hand standing out against the fantastic faces, bodies, and hair. In fact, I'd wager to say that God Eater is up there as one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 4 right now, due to the dedication Shift showed in handling its re-release. You see, the God Eater series is Bandai Namco's attempt at the monster hunting genre, after Capcom's Monster Hunter series was met with general praise and high sales numbers. As such, the basic premise is relatively similar. The player outfits themselves with equipment and large weapons to go out and slay large monsters in order to gather material to craft even better monster slaying weapons and gear. Where God Eater differs, however, is instead of having only one weapon to fight monsters with at any given time, the player's weapon is actually called a God Arc, which is actually a shape-shifting weapon that can be switched between melee and ranged weapon with just the push of a button. The other major difference in this game is that the God Arc is something like a living creature that can be used to devour the corpses of dead monsters or just take a bite out of living ones. The player must do this in order to harvest materials from dead monsters, or if they're still living, to get power-ups. Now, the easiest way I can explain God Eater's gameplay is to say that it feels exactly how you think it would. It's just another team's interpretation of the Monster Hunter style. The games feel so similar and share so many similarities with Monster Hunter that God Eater's differences feel more like a garnish. Another difference to God Eater from Monster Hunter is that God Eater has an overarching story with many different characters, each with their own background and personality. Instead of taking place in a medieval fantasy world, God Eater actually takes place on Earth after an alien species called the Aragami are discovered on the planet. 20 years later, the world is now nearly barren, with almost all matter being devoured by the monsters. The aliens are explained to be singular cell organisms that work together to create beasts that you'll fight. This is actually used to explain why the creatures share many characteristics with animals or vehicles. Think Monster Hunter meets John Carpenter's The Thing. The story of God Eater follows your character, a new type of Aragami killer called a new type, whose abilities have been enhanced in order to help deal with the emerging Aragami threat that's been appearing all over the world. The main hub to God Eater is a small underground base where you'll do most of your socializing, crafting, and shopping. You'll select what mission you want to complete, and you'll choose who you want to accompany you on that mission, and from there you go out and you hunt. Now once you're out on your mission, you'll notice how familiar the game really is. Blocking, dashing, light and heavy attacks make up your moveset, and it's important to know that all creatures have elements that they're weak to, and weak points that you must attack for massive damage. Attacking a weak point with an element that they're weak to compared to an armored point can mean the difference between dealing only 21 damage or dealing 140 damage per hit. It's actually this point that I take issue with. I don't particularly find the combat that engaging, and while there are plenty of monsters that are fun to fight, there are just as many monsters that I consider to be an annoyance. Too many creatures in this game have a move that allows them to move from one side of the map to the other very quickly, which means you as a player are going to be spending a lot of your time running around just trying to catch up to the monster. And while that may seem like a novice complaint, let it be known that while I have fainted quite a lot, I rarely do ever fail missions. No, my annoyance came from having to run up to a monster, getting in only one swing on its weak point, and then having it run away from me just for me to have to run after it again to hit it. While there are many items that can be used to deal with this problem, the player is often given such a limited amount of them that I can say from personal experience that the game doesn't allow you enough to kill the creature in a timely fashion. Another feature that I really enjoy in this game is that the game has online, where you can actually go and play with many of your other friends and actually go to hunt monsters together. It's a nice break away from the AI companions who I feel don't really do anything. The only thing that they're really used for is to help you if you faint. To make a long story short, I think God Eater is a really good game and is definitely one that any monster hunting fan should really look into. And for only $20, the game is practically a steal to hold you over until August when God Eater 2 comes out. God Eater Resurrection gets an 8 out of 10. When it comes to the good, the game is visually stunning. Other than a few moments where the graphics do look dated, it still looks amazing. Another big bonus comes from that. The monster designs are incredible. In fact, the number one thing that kept me coming back to this game was I wanted to see all the creatures that the game had to offer. And 3, the game's story is actually compelling with characters I actually came to care about, which really surprised me. When it comes to the bad, the only real issue I have with the game is the way the combat goes down. Now I understand the confusion that must come from the fact that I gave this game an 8 even though my one and only complaint has to do with the gameplay itself. So please allow me a moment to explain my view on video games. For me, there's much more to a video game than just the gameplay. And while it may be the most important thing, a video game is the sum of its parts. And if all the other pieces of the puzzle are good enough on their own, they have the ability to compensate for a game if I find the gameplay not to be the best. This is how I feel about games like Lollipop Chainsaw, No More Heroes, and God Eater Resurrection. I of course must also take into consideration my lack of skill in the monster hunting genre itself. Having only started playing these games in the last 2 years, I understand that I have much to learn in the ways of killing monsters. Therefore, I'm willing to say that my negative here is definitely a subjective opinion that can be easily disagreed with by someone whose skill level surpasses mine. So if you disagree with me, please make sure you let me know in the comment section down below, either on YouTube or on nichegamer.com. I'm always open to feedback from our dedicated and passionate fans. Anyway, I think I've said just about everything I possibly can about this game, so let me wrap this up. Once again, my name is Tyler Valle, thank you all for watching, and make sure you guys check out nichegamer.com for all your gaming news, previews, and reviews. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to work to get as much video content out as we possibly can for your viewing pleasure. And most importantly, make sure you all have a great day.